That's not going to work.
Welcome to the 15th Floor, a Radiohead reaction podcast where a Gen X father tries to convince his Gen Z son that Radiohead is the greatest band of all time. By introducing him to Radiohead music one song at a time, he will react. After hearing the song for the first time, I will react as a Radiohead fan, lifelong Radiohead fan, for the zillionth time and tell you why it's such a wonderful song and why it contributes to that hypothesis. Right? Last time we did Knives Out. A lot of Knives Out fans, a lot of Amnesiac fans, which is good. We're plowing through sometime. We haven't gotten, I think we've done one viewer request, and we said we were going to do a bunch of viewer requests. We haven't. Maybe we'll get one more of those done before we head out on vacation again this week. Yeah, we could do that. We could probably get one more out, and then and you won't even know we're on vacation because we'll try to keep putting videos out, hopefully every few days. Today we're going all the way back, and I mean all the way back to the beginning. To the Drill EP. No, actually this song was on the Drill EP, but this is from 1993's Pablo Honey. We're doing You, the opening track to Pablo Honey. If somebody came to you and said, you know nothing about music, you've never heard Radiohead, here is Radiohead, you're going to start at the beginning and you'll hear every song of theirs, and this is what you start with, the first song on the first album. Like I said, it was on the Drill EP. For those who have different versions of this, there are different versions of this, but this is the studio version, which is the one we're going to be listening to. Because it's Pablo Honey, it's a rock and roll song. Heavy on guitar, heavy on more guitar, heavy on another guitar, heavy on bass, heavy on drums, heavy on vocals. Great vocals by Tom York, but it's just a good old-fashioned rock and roll song. You'll notice Tom York is fitting in to the early 90s vibe and hasn't really found his Tom Yorkiness yet. Yeah, have you ever heard You? Nope, I don't think you have. From this album, now that you've heard Creep, which you'd heard a zillion times, maybe not a zillion times, you've heard a few times. You've heard Lurgy, and you've heard Stop Whispering. I'm going to edit that so it didn't look like I paused so long to try to remember the songs we've done. I would say in general, you haven't disliked Pablo Honey. You is a little more hard rock, a little more rock and roll than those other ones. So You was requested by J.O. Borgbon, Style Guy 1415 or 1415. Sorry if you Style Guy, if you don't like it read out like that. But thanks for requesting You. Other people have mentioned that they like You as a song from Pablo Honey and one that you might respond well to. So I'm sorry if I didn't get you included, but I know a lot of listeners or viewers have mentioned that this is a good song to show someone who might be Gen Z and might not be sure where they stand on Radiohead yet. Let's go all the way back. This is before they, as they might say, before they knew what they were doing. So here is, from 1993, Pablo Honey, You.
The sun and moon
that note's cool. He holds that note out, and this song showcases Tom York's vocal abilities. And in an album where he's not doing a lot of the falsetto that he becomes known for, or a lot of the melodic challenging that he does, that he becomes known for, or a lot of the effects that he eventually becomes known for, he's just singing. And this is Tom York's pure rock voice, which he shies away from greatly later on. But this song showcases that really well. And that long note that he holds is a great example of that. You can find live versions where he holds that note even longer. I happen to like, as far as live versions of this song, the Astoria version of it, where he doesn't hold that note at all.
Why can't Radiohead be more like that? I like that way more compared to most.
Well, you're starting where everyone started.
Yeah, but I like that.
You think they should have kept doing that?
Yes, that is like the 90s stuff that I love. Like, it's not, this isn't grunge, but it's close. Like, the guitar kind of has that grunge feeling to it.
Has a gnarly feel to it.
Yeah, and those are the songs I like, and if that's what they kept on doing, then Radiohead might actually be a band that I would love a lot.
Yeah. I mean, that's how they started, and this is a crunchy album with a crunchy guitar, and it fits really well into the early 90s. I will still say, had they stayed with Pablo Honey and the Bends and OK Computer, if they would have stayed in that zone, they still would have been one of the greatest rock bands if they could have kept doing what they were doing. But they didn't, and I think we're better off for it. But I can see why, as a music, as taking it in sonically, that you would say that this is a good song, and they could have done this for a long time, and you wouldn't have to like find all the nuances of some of that newer stuff.
If I didn't know Radiohead and someone showed me this, I could have easily gotten confused with Alice in Chains. I feel like this is just the way that Tom York sang it. He kind of sounded like whatever his name is.
Like Lane Staley. That's right. In fact, it's funny you bring that up, because that note that he holds into the guitar solo does sound a little bit like kind of Man in the Box-ish. And it fits right into that time period. No one would argue that early Radiohead sounds a lot like Alice in Chains, but this song, that's not the first time that's crossed the mind of either of us. No, I've thought the same thing. All right. You liked his singing, and you just like the guitars. I mean, that's what it is. These are all guitars. They're not trying to pull out any tricks. Live versions have Johnny doing what Johnny did in the early days to get through these guitar-driven songs, and that is get a little noisier, get a little freer, kind of attack the strings several times, attack them just slightly off beat, off count, purposefully. And you'll see that in live performances of the song, and most live performances of early Radiohead stuff where studio versions are different than live versions. You actually, this song, they actually did continue to play a little bit longer than they played other songs from Pablo Honey. Once they were done touring for the Bends, they kind of left Pablo Honey off the table. But You kind of made its way still for a while, and so has Blowout. I mean, a couple of them have made their way back in. I think they're starting to reevaluate and look at it and say, yeah, we understand where it falls for people, so we'll keep doing it. What would you give You?
I'd give Me a 10.
Nice.
Yep.
Zing.
Classic. 8.5, rounding in on a 9.
Wow. Yeah, you that song sounds to you like a good song right off the bat.
Yes, this is the 90s stuff I like. Yeah.
Well, you gave Palo Alto a high score right away, and Palo Alto fits into this category a lot more than it fits into a latter category. You also gave Body Snatchers a high score right away, which doesn't fit into this time period, but harkens back to this time period. So you definitely have a
I think
subgenre of Radiohead you like.
Yeah, my taste in Radiohead, I think it's pretty obvious which type I'm leaning towards.
Yeah. And I know that, and I'm realistic about that with not just you, but with anyone that I would try to convince that Radiohead is the greatest band of all time, or just try to tell them why I like Radiohead so much. I understand that people who, boy, how do I say this without being like condescending and stupid? Like, you don't have as great a taste in music as I do. That's stupid. But people who like radio play, they want to hear a song that just makes them instantly attracted to the song. I understand that later that will be harder to do with anything probably from Amnesiac on, but then you start to learn those anything that in the last 20 years, you start to learn those songs. It helps to know some of the stories behind them at times. You hear the song as it fits into the entire album, and those become more musically advanced, certainly, and interesting than maybe this older stuff. I loved early 90s rock. That's what brought me back into music after some really bad late 80s stuff. And stuff like this was what did it. This sort of thing, Dinosaur Jr., PJ Harvey, Live, Green Day, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, those, these bands that, they became very mainstream, but it's what brought people like me back into the believability, back in as believers of music, that music could be good again. I mean, don't get me wrong, Bismarcky was good, but it just didn't have staying power. That's not going to convince me that we need to shy away from stuff that you might not love right off the bat, because we found some good ones. And as you hear them as you get older, more mature musically. No, as you hear them more frequently, you'll definitely come around on those even more and more. And then you'll wow your friends when you're older by saying, I've always been a Radiohead fan. That's how you wow your friends.
Good to know.
Have you noticed?
Nope.
Okay. See what the kids thought about this one. You can see that she just drew You. I always tell them, you draw or color what you think this song makes you feel, and it can be anything. And I don't think this one grabbed them in any way. And so she just wrote You in that very creamsicle vibe, yellow and orange. Maybe she's just really in the thick of summer. His says, and I asked him to redraw this or draw over it with a better marker, but it says, you are the best, and the person on the left is questioning that, like, as in, what do you mean I'm the best? So,
you Ray
the best. Yeah. It's summertime. He doesn't have to think about how to spell things correctly. I hope it doesn't break your heart to find out that he is not, he's not putting tons of time into his artwork. And we still let him do it. Meaning from Tom on this, from the band, chime in on that, guys. I know there's some kind of almost OK Computer type vibe to it, answering to people who have some authority over you in a rebellious way. Also about, it could be about relationships, but that's what Hansen said about Mbop, for crying out loud. So a commenter on the previous video, again, previous video was Knives Out off of Amnesiac, and commenter Don't Overthink said, you got to get a poster that looks exactly like the door in the old background. It was iconic. Whenever I think of this series, I immediately think of the white door in the background. It didn't even occur to me that some people got so used to that white door, which was really just the door to that room, of course. And somebody even mentioned, that was the elevator doors, of course. And we had hinted at that too. And I've already said we got kicked out of the room that we were recording in before. We are now in the basement. The computer is set up on a pool table, and the background is the wall that surprisingly doesn't have any holes from cue sticks on it.
All the holes are up there.
Oh, are they?
Like there's some skid marks in the.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
We do some trick shots down here on the pool table. Yeah, we got kicked out of the room, so we're still looking for a background. Somebody said, just get the doors. Get a picture of the doors and put them back there. Maybe we could talk my wife, your mother, into letting us back into that older room, because frankly, it was a better recording situation. The backdrop we have that she wanted us to replace it with is sitting right over here, and it's just not big enough. Maybe we'll use it next time, even though it's very fake. Very obviously fake. We'll show you guys what it looks like next time. Yeah, we'll do that. And maybe we'll get around to one of those viewer requests. Keep those coming in. I keep those coming in. You guys are probably like, why keep those coming in? Because you never do them. Sorry, we'll get to them. We've gotten through so much Radiohead. We really need to slow down and hit some of those other ones. Mm-hmm. Thanks for joining me today on the 15th floor.
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. I try to convince him to talk a little bit more each time, because it's really his opinion you'd like to know. But he's just you just listen and go.
Yep.
And I can keep going, and oftentimes and we edit out a good half hour of me talking about the song more than I need to. So maybe we'll post some of those deleted scenes in the deep dive that nobody cares about. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, leave a comment. Even if your comment is just where you're from, or your favorite Radiohead song, or a Radiohead song you think we should do. Comments are always great. We love reading them. I will say we read every comment. If I don't like it, I apologize. Sometimes I read it from my phone and I don't like. There's a whole bunch to explain there, but I do pretty much read every comment. You read most every comment, probably. So if you want to address him directly, do that, but be nice. He's a minor. Continue to love one another. Keep listening to music together. You're now leaving
the 15th floor.